Blackstone Audio presents Red November, Inside the Secret U.S.-Soviet Submarine War by W. Craig Reed. This book is dedicated to my father, Lieutenant William J. Reed, retired, who helped devise and deploy the top-secret Boresight program, and to the underwater sailors and civilians who sacrificed so much. The following pages are a tribute to the commitment, courage, and constant vigilance of those who sacrificed so much to ensure that our world did not end by way of fire and fallout. Introduction. In wartime, truth is so precious that she should always be attended by a bodyguard of lies. Winston Churchill. In March 2009, beyond the frosted windows of an arthritic building in downtown St. Petersburg, Russia, a callous wind forced its will upon millions of helpless snowflakes. Inside the hotel ballroom, hundreds of Russians ignored the weather as they laughed, danced, hugged, and drank. Vodka flowed. Music blared and platters of food beckoned. I stood at my table as a husky man with playful eyes and Santa cheeks approached. He beamed and introduced himself as Sergei. He said he once served as the commander of a Soviet submarine and told me that NATO codenamed his class of boat the Victor III. He asked if I recognized this name. I smiled and said that my submarine, the USS Drum, had once come too close to such a boat near Vladivostok. Eyes wide, Sergei took 2 steps backward. K-324? Yes, I said. K-324. Sergei reached his stubby arms around my shoulders and gave me a bear hug. In my ear, he said, "You should be dead." I nodded and said nothing. Sergei pointed at a shiny pin on my lapel. U.S. Navy diver, I said. His eyes lit up again as he tapped a similar emblem on his Russian Navy uniform. He unhooked his pin and attached it to my shirt. I did the same for him. Sergei then grabbed 2 glasses and filled each with a shot of vodka. He handed one to me, and in broken English quoted an old Russian proverb, "After a storm, there is fair weather. After sorrow, there is joy." I clicked my glass against his and downed the burning liquid. Before me, and all around me, were former enemies. Submariners who once pointed the barrels of their guns at my head, fingers poised and aimed steady. Now, with the passage of time, at an annual Russian event that honors submariners, we laughed and joked about our escapades from decades past. In Russia, submariners are revered and respected, as their profession is considered dangerous, their sacrifice worthy of praise. For this select group of volunteers, camaraderie runs as deep as their vessels. None care about nationalities, creeds, or skin color. That night, dozens of former submariners treated me as a brother among brothers. Even though we were strangers, whose governments once fought as enemies, we greeted one another with firm handshakes, warm hugs, and broad smiles. I felt honored and humbled. After dinner, a small group of submariners walked to the dance floor. Side by side, they raised their glasses and voices as they sang a Russian submariner's song. Though I didn't understand the words, I felt the meaning touch the deepest part of my soul. More and more submariners joined the throng as the voices reached a crescendo. Tears filled my eyes. Words can never do justice to the feelings that overcame me when I stood alongside my brothers and toasted all submariners, especially those lost at sea, who now serve on eternal patrol. As I left the event, I wondered if those who consider themselves enemies today could do as we had done that night, lay down their swords and find a common bond. I realized that until that day, there could be no fair winds, and many in the world were destined to remain captured by the storms of sorrow. If one believes the Mayans, the world will end in the year 2012. Whether by global warming, menacing asteroids, or bioterrorism, we are always on the brink of annihilation. Skeptics voice their doubts, but for those of us who served during the 46-year Cold War, such fears are not without merit, for never did we come closer to nuclear self-destruction than in October 1962, and again in May 1968. Conflicts involving U.S. and Soviet submarines were common factors in both. No discernible fanfare marked the final moments of a war that cost taxpayers $8 trillion and the lives of more than 100,000 Americans, almost 87,000 of those in the conflicts with Korea and Vietnam. There were no ticker-tape parades, no blowing horns, and no mothers waving